Hello everyone, welcome to our training for today. So I hope that you are ready and you have your module with you so that you can follow the things that I'm going to discuss to you today. By the way, I am your instructor, I am your teacher, Riches Tortula, and I am going to share with you the guidelines in assessing young children. So why do you think it is important for us to follow the guidelines in assessing our children? Very good. So here is our lesson, Module 1, Lesson 2. These are the learning outcomes. By the end of the lesson, we will be able to recognize various legal bases of assessing young children, since we will be talking about different guidelines in assessing young children. And then you are also expected to discuss the role of the teacher in selecting and using tests and measurements to the young children. So, before we discuss our lesson, let's try to answer the activate part. And this is the direction. As child development workers or teachers, what guidelines do you follow in assessing your learners? Now you can answer or you can write your answer in the box. Now, this lesson can be found on page 13. Okay. You are going to write there if you know the guidelines that you follow as a child development purpose. Now let's proceed to the acquired part. These are the legal bases of assessing young children. So we have here the DepEd Order number 8, series of 2015. If you would like to see the details of this DepEd Order, you can search this one in the internet. Just type DepEd Order number 8, series of 2015. Also known as Policy Guidelines on Classroom Assessment for K-12 Basic Education Programs. So, mao kini siya ang mga guidelines na gina-follow sa DepEd, sa Department of Education, from kindergarten to grade 12. So, I just put here the highlights of the memorandum. First is the theoretical basis. Classroom assessment is joint process that involves both teachers and learners, or sometimes the parents. So, at the heart of assessment is the recognition and deliberate consideration of learners' zone proximal development. So, the main purpose of assessment is to develop or to improve the learning of our young learners. And appropriate assessment is committed to ensure the learner's success in moving guided to independent display of knowledge, understanding, and skills, and to enable them to transfer this successfully in future situations. So this is the appropriate assessment. Dili kay we will conduct assessment so that we will know bagsak ato na yung ibagsak. No. We will conduct assessment for us to help our young learners to improve, so that we will know what are the things that we should do to help the child. That's the purpose of assessment. Dili kay the purpose is na magsak. Right? Okay, now, what is classroom assessment? It is defined that it is a process that is used to keep track of the learner's progress, relation to the learning standards, and in the development of 21st century skills, to promote self-reflection and personal accountability among learners about their own learning. Okay, here. Classroom assessment can be, it's on the process of identifying, as what we have discussed in the first lesson. It's more on gathering, organizing data, and then interpretation of the information. Then after the interpretation, that's the time that the teacher will evaluate, and that would be the basis for decision making. Okay? Now, let's continue. What is assessed in the classroom? Isa day ang gina-assess inside the classroom. So, in the Department of Education, you can see in their curriculum guide. I know you also have your guide in your teaching. We have in the DepEd, you can see the content standards. Just like us, we also have our course outcome. We have our goals to achieve. So, mo kini sila. We have the performance standards, the learning competencies, concept development. So, you just have to read this one in your module. And then, let's proceed. How are learners assessed in the classroom? Yun sa sila pag-assess inside the classroom. It's either individual, sa usa, or collaborative formative assessment or group assessment. Or pwede po siya isa-isa or collaborative summative assessment. When we say formative assessment, it happens after our lesson. Mag-conduct na yung taog, quiz, test, if the young learner understand or met our target. When we say summative assessment, that is equivalent of our first grading, our first quarter exam. So, mas taas-taas iyang coverage compared to formative assessment. Yung formative, discuss the activity, then we will assess. While summative, taas-taas siya. Bali, usa siya ka-quarter or unit. That's summative assessment. From the words sum up or summative. Okay, now what is the grading system? So, in the kindergarten, they have the checklist, na sila yung mga anecdotal records. That would be the used instead of numerical grades. Instead of 97, 98, they have their beginning, developing, something like that. Not numerical grades. So that would be the basis for their learning standards in the curriculum, in the kindergarten curriculum guide. Okay, they also have their portfolio where they will compile ilang tigumon ang mga activity sheets or artwork or writing samples or any learner's output that would show their improvement or their progress in learning. So, through checklist, the teacher will be able to indicate whether or not the child is able to demonstrate or perform the task expected. So, they have the checklist, and they will observe if the child has already met that one. They are going to check or not. So, that's their basis of grading. And then through anecdotal records or narrative reports, ang teacher will be able to describe the learner's behavior, attitude, and effort in schoolwork. So later on, I am going to share with you the assessment tools. So we have here, na mention the anecdotal record, that's one, and also the checklist. That is also an example of assessment tools. Okay, let's have another guide or another guidelines for assessing young children. So another guidelines is DepEd Order number 47, series of 2016. This is based on the, or also known as Omnibus Policy on Kindergarten Education. I just written here the highlights. Now, if you want to see the details of the memorandum, you can always check this one. Just type DepEd Order number 47, series of 2016 in the Google. I just put the highlights so that you will we will just focus on the assessment. Now, what is the process of classroom assessment? So it's more on identifying, gathering, organizing, and interpreting the data. What are the two types of assessment? I have already mentioned formative assessment and summative assessment. And then, how is assessment information recorded? It is through checklist and portfolio. And then, how is assessment information reported? Hinaunsa man na siya pag-report. At the end of every quarter, a progress report will be provided to the parents every quarter. So after sa ilang exam, because there are 4 quarters in a school year. So regional and school division officers shall ensure that the kinder progress report released by the schools are contextualized in the mother tongue. As you can see, the progress report card of our kindergarten is contextualized by our mother tongue. So, Bisaya ta din ha. Atong mistoryahan, mausad ang ga-reflect na language in the report card, sa cards atong mga bata. And then, qualitative rating shall be used in the progress report card, not numerical grades. Dili to 97, 98. It's qualitative ratings like developing, beginning. You may also check the report card of the kindergarten pupils. Okay? Now, let's continue with the next guidelines based on the NAIC program standards. So, this is the standard of assessment in the NAIC. Assessment of child progress. The program is informed by ongoing systematic, formal, and informal assessment approaches to provide information and learning and development. These assessments occur within the context of reciprocal communication with the families with sensitivity to cultural context in which children develop. So, when we conduct our assessment, we also have to consider their culture. Okay, for example, we have to respect their culture, like some other religion don't allow their children to raise their hands during the Panatang Makabayan, or to do like this when we sing our Lupang Hinirang or our national anthem. So through that, we have to respect because that is their culture. We will not correct that one, but instead we will just be sensitive and we will respect their culture. Okay, let's proceed. Of course, teachers has a great role in selecting and using the tests and measurements to the young learners. So, dako kaayod ka og role as a teacher. We will not just use an assessment that is not suited sa ato ang mga bata, pili suit sa ato ang pili bagay sa atong gusto i-measure. Okay? So, in selecting appropriate assessment, and its technique is one of the major roles of teachers in choosing tests and measurements to the learners. One of the challenges for beginning teachers, is to select and use appropriate assessment technique. Say, for example, we want to measure we would like to measure the prior knowledge of our children before siya mag-daycare. Prior knowledge. We want to test the prior knowledge. Yahang natun-an before pa siya misulod sa imuha. Then, what do you think is the appropriate assessment that we should use? Unsa ka ha? I think the best assessment that is suitable for that is the diagnostic assessment. What if we would like to measure their knowledge in the whole quarter? What assessment should we use? So I think the best way is to use summative assessment and so on. Like, we would like to observe the child's behavior, then what is the best tool that we are going to use? So later we will discuss about the appropriate and techniques and tools in assessing young children. So teachers may use different processes and strategies for classroom assessment and adapt them to suit the assessment or to fit the assessment purpose and needs of individual learners. Research and experience show that learner learning is best supported when instruction and assessment are based on clear learning goals. So, klaro kung unsa ang inyong gusto i-measure, unsa ang inyong gusto makatunan. For example, your goal is to write. So, clear ang goal. Instruction and assessment are differentiated according to the learner learning needs. Differentiated ang mga atong ginatudlo, atong technique. For example, this one is these teaching strategies is suitable for the visual learners. Itong mga mahilig kaayo sa mga mas dali sila makakita based sa ilahang mata. So another teaching technique is for the kinesthetic learners. Itong learners na mahilig maglihok-lihok para makatuon sila. That's their way of learning. Another one is katong mga auditory learners. Mas makatuon sila kung naay music ang techniques teacher for them to learn. So differentiated, lahi-lahi to cater the diverse learners. Kaya lahi-lahi magid ni ang ato ang mga learners. Okay? Now, learners should be involved in the learning process. So dapat involved sila. Kay they just passive. Dapat they also they understand what they should know. Okay? And parents are well informed about their child's learning and work with a goal to help plan and provide support. So, as teachers, parents are our partners. So, whatever we do in school, we have to give feedback to our parents. Kabalo na gid mo ana because you are teaching for a long time. Okay? So again, the primary role is to enhance the teaching and improve young learners and support them through assessment. So that is the primary role of an early childhood teacher like you and like me, to enhance teaching and improve young learners. So that's all about the guidelines in assessing young children. We have mentioned 3 guidelines. So let's proceed to the assess part. So in the activity 1, this is a reflection. Try to reflect our lesson and then you answer the question. Based on the 3 legal bases in assessing young children, what are your insights or inyong mga realizations about how assessment should be done? Sa inyong na-realize sa ato lesson, and then sa inyong natunan. So try to reflect this one. You just have to write at least 2 paragraphs. And then for the activity 2, you are going to explain the roles of a teacher in selecting and using tests and measurements to the young learners based on the discussion given. So di ay ang mga role na to as teacher in selecting and using test measurements. If you just listen if you just listen to our video, I'm very sure that you will easily write the answer in the activity 1 and activity 2. So I hope you do your best in answering our activities for you to learn also, because we will really this is really very important, especially for us teachers for young learners. Okay, thank you so much for listening. If you have more questions, you may comment down below, or you may also type your questions in our group chat or messenger. Thank you so much, and once again, good day and goodbye.